right, hi guys. So we are ready to read our nonfiction book that we're going to pair. Remember, it goes together with our fiction book, Pumpkin Soup, that we read yesterday. So we're going to read a book called Perfect Pumpkins. And so since it's nonfiction, remember, it's going to give us lots of facts about pumpkins. That's exactly right. All right, here we go. So remember, this is one of our nonfiction text features, which is called a table of contents. Remember, the table of contents is important because it helps us find information in the book. So on page 1, we're going to learn about planting seeds. On page 2, we learned about baby plants. On page 3, we learn about the vines. On page 4, we learn about yellow flowers. On page 5, we'll learn about bees, bees, bees. On page 6, we'll learn about little fruit. And page 7, why we love pumpkins, and page 8 will be the glossary. Remember, the glossary is another text feature that if we don't know a word, it'll be bolded in the book. We can go back and find that book in the glossary, and it'll explain that word. All right, so planting seeds. The life cycle of a pumpkin begins by planting a pumpkin seed in the soil. The seed only needs to be about 1 inch deep from the top of the dirt, so you don't have to plant very deep. On farms, this will be done in long, neat rows so that farmers can walk back and forth to check on the plant's progress. So if you look very carefully, that's one of our bolded words. So we could find that word in the glossary. That's right. So if we don't know what progress is, it means it's growth or how it's changing. The seed will need lots of water and sunlight to grow. After about a week, a little plant will begin to sprout. Don't get too excited yet. The journey is just beginning. Baby plant. As the little plants known as sprouts start to grow up out of the soil, the roots begin to stretch down further into the dirt. The roots will act like a straw for a plant so that it can get lots of water. As you can see in the photograph, there are 2 leaves that uncurl from the plant and seem to stretch towards the sun. This is very important because the plant will use that sunlight to make its own food. This is called photosynthesis. So those leaves are reaching up, and what they're going to do is they're going to bring in as much sunlight as they can because they're going to make all the food in there. The vine. After a little while, bigger leaves with rough edges will begin to appear on the plant. The stem of the plant begins to grow and stretch into a vine. The vine is very important because it transports nutrients all throughout the plant. So I saw something on that page. Did you see it? We have one of those bolded words. So nutrients is one of our bolded words. So if we went down, we could go all the way to 10, and we could say nutrients, something that provides nourishment, like food. Good job. It is important that farmers pull out any weeds that might hurt the pumpkin plants. Weeds can hurt the vines by taking the water that they need. The vine will not grow up, but instead it will stretch out all over the soil. So if you look, he's growing all on the ground. It's not like growing up like a tree. Yellow flowers. After about 10 weeks of growing, so it's about 2.5 months, yellow flowers will begin to appear on the vine. This is the first sign that the fruit is beginning to grow. If you watch very closely, you will notice that the flowers close up in the daytime heat. But as it cools, they will open up. You may not know this, but there are actual male and female versions of this flower. The female version will start to grow little baby green pumpkins under the flower and close to the vine. Bees, bees, bees. Farmers love honeybees. This is because bees are essential to their fruits and vegetables growing. So essential. I wonder what essential means. Where can I find that answer? In the glossary. Very good. So let's go back to the glossary for just a second. So essential, necessary, important. That's what that means. So those bees are necessary or important, essential to their fruits and vegetables growing. Bees will fly back and forth between the male and female flowers. They do this so that they can eat the nectar from the flowers. When they are feeding, yellow pollen will be transported on the bee from the male flower to the female flower. This is called pollination. Do you see why we need bees? Now the pumpkins can grow. So without the bees, that pollen couldn't get to place, and we wouldn't be able to grow pumpkins. A little fruit. The yellow flowers begin to wither away, and where they were, you will begin to see a small green fruit growing. This small green pumpkin will continue to grow and change colors. As it matures or how it gets older, it will become more and more orange. After about 4 months from when the seeds were first planted, the pumpkins will be ripe enough to pick. So remember, ripe means ready to pick. The vines will begin to die off, and all you will have left are big, beautiful pumpkins. So actually, when you're looking at a pumpkin plant, you see a yellow flower, then you see a little green pumpkin, and then eventually it turns into that orange pumpkin. Why we love pumpkins. Picking pumpkins and decorating our houses with them has been an autumn tradition in the United States. Now, one of our friends last week brought up the word autumn. He said that autumn was another word for fall. Very good. There are also tons of yummy food that can be made with like pumpkin pie and cupcakes. Children and adults alike enjoy carving pumpkins like jack-o'-lanterns. The seeds that are taken out can be roasted to eat, and they can be saved to plant more pumpkins in the spring. There are so many reasons to love pumpkins. And so here's our glossary. So these are some of those words that we went back to look at. All right, you guys did an awesome job. If you need to re-listen to the book, you can. What you're going to do now is you're going to connect to Seesaw, and you're going to tell me some of those pumpkin facts that you learned. Okay, so something you learned about pumpkins from the book. All right, awesome job, guys.